Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and record. So we're recording. So this is the end of week 2, collab-lab cohort 2, and y'all have been building some stuff. So whoever wants to go first, just kind of talk us through what the problem was that you were trying to solve, and then show us what you built.
Ethan, do you mind showing your stuff, and we can both talk about it? Showing your screen, I mean.
Yeah, let me bring that up here. Ooh, that's not the one. This is the one. Share. See my screen?
Yep.
Sure.
Yep. Nice. What? Let's see. We did a little bit in app.js. What other modules would you like me to bring up, or components would you like me to bring up?
Oh, just to add item is good. We just added a route to the, well, they saw our code.
Yeah.
Do you guys want us to talk about it, or
Actually,
just demo the app?
Talk about at a high level, what was the feature you were trying to add or the problem you were trying to solve?
Yeah, so if you go,
I was just going to say I can try and find our wiki if you want.
Yep, that would be helpful too.
Great. Go ahead, Claudia. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, it's okay. So yeah, just in the add item component, I added a route that included the token that we set up, so that it would save it with a document name of the token to the database. So that's pretty much all I did, was like I routed it differently to how it would be saved to the database.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and our whole task had just started off with the our week started off with the 3 tasks of generate a new unique token, save it to local storage, and then show the user the list view. Mm-hmm. So the first part was just using Andrew's script to get the token in the first place. And for me, it was definitely just figuring out what local storage was and how we were going to put stuff in there. But that was the easy part, actually. Mm-hmm. And then showing the user the list view has to do with just a little part in the main app.js, deciding whether or not to take them to a page to get a token or to actually send them to the router component, which is going to let them see the list that they already have created that's associated with that token.
Yeah, and the only issue that I have had, well, we can show them the demo and then I can talk, we can show them how the app works right now, and then I can talk about my issue.
Cool. So if we were to say that we are just going to kind of start out as if this was our first time using the app, there would be nothing stored in here in our local storage. And this will let us take a look at what happens whenever a new user came to look at the app. They would click the get token button, which probably eventually will be called start a list or something, because the user doesn't really need to know much about the tokens. But for now, we have it called get token. That creates a unique token key with value to it. The value is something that is generated by that script that we used from Andrew, the thing that Andrew made. And once you do that, you can access your list, and that's going to have items, and you can add items in there. So that's kind of tying into the stuff that we and the other team had started creating last week. Mm-hmm. So as a demo, if you wanted to put in pizza, it doesn't seem to do anything, but whenever you go to your list, you do get to see the pizza item in there.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
That's great.
Thanks.
Nice.
And obviously, I don't think this takes a lot of explanation. I just threw in a little bit of styling just so that we can have something.
I thought that was cool. See a little CSS in there.
Thanks. And everyone feel free to continue editing that and changing it just a little something so that it's slightly pretty.
Yeah, It looks nice. I like it.
Thanks.
Yeah, me too. I didn't look too far ahead, but is there going to be a task like later on to add styling, or?
Yeah, there's a couple stories at the very end. So it's sort of, if we get to the end and we're not behind, or like we have time at the end, we can spend a little time to kind of make it look a little more like an app or something.
Okay.
So, if it's something you have time to do to like kind of incrementally as you go, that's great. But
Okay.
don't feel like you have to in the first
Okay,
7 or 8
great.
weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, it's styling something very good, I think, we can all be democratic about. Like, for instance, if anyone likes a different background color or something, or if anyone wants to, we could make the buttons position absolute so that they don't move everything around when you hover over them. We can just all kind of make a little change and show it on GitHub, and then probably see if other people like it, and probably they will accept that.
Yep.
So
Cool.
the issue that we were having with the deleting the home route, was that after you click the get token button, we were basically just using a like vanilla JavaScript redirect function. Reload function.
Mhm.
So it would just reload the page, and then because you have a token, it takes you straight to the list. And that's why we deleted home, because then it would take you straight to home and not to list. Because that's the first component, or the first route.
Yeah.
And now I've been trying, like, for the past hour, trying to figure out how to use the redirect functionality from React Router, and it keeps giving me errors. So yeah, I'm not really sure what's going on.
I think deleting the home page for us just seemed like the quickest route to getting it to look like what we wanted. So maybe using the redirect will be the actual option that we agree as a team we want to use in the future. It took us to the right page if we got rid of the home page, so we just kind of did that.
Yeah, I just need to play around with it more.
And I might suggest that you think about local storage as a way to persist the fact that the user already has a list between their visits to the app. So like reloading the page is a pretty heavy operation. So it's like as if they're coming to it for the first time. You can pull it off the disk and look from local storage and say, oh, we already have a token. But if you're already in the app and you create a token, React has the concept of state. So you could, you save it to the disk to make sure that the next time they come, they have it. But the thing that's important is that it's in the state as having a token. And you could actually use that to trigger showing the list view as opposed to the get token page. You see what I mean?
So like look at list to determine the page instead of looking at local storage to determine the page?
Yeah, you would use the state to determine whether, like, what thing to be showing the user. But you would load from local storage when you load the app and put that into state. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I think I
so
do see it.
instead of redirect, we could just render list. Okay. Oh, well, I think I was overcomplicating it.
It's really easy to go to whatever kind of like, oh, that would work, and so I'm going to do that. But there sometimes there are simpler ways to use it.
Yeah, for sure. So part of what we'd be looking at is just right here. Like our logic was just the simplest, most direct thing we could think of was checking local storage to figure out what page to show them. And instead, we might want to have it where state is recording what's in here, and then we can check the state to show what view.
Yeah, exactly.
Am I understanding you right? Cool.
Yep.
I can also show you, like, mine was maybe a mixture of those two ideas. Maybe not a mixture, just a different approach to it. Might be helpful. So when we get to
let us know whenever we've presented enough and you guys want to take over.
What do you feel like you've shown your stuff?
I do.
We can show. Do you have access to the database now, so we can show them what it looks like?
Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
What would you like me to show?
We can see how, like, all the different tokens are, the document names, and we can talk about how. Oh well, so some of the tokens are in italics, and that's because at first when I was trying to add documents, I was adding like collection and a document and collection and document all in one statement, and it was creating virtual documents. And I didn't realize that I had to add a field, and do it like in 2 different steps for it to be like a real document that can be queried, so that the other team could fetch those.
So here you click on
names.
items, and we see. So you're already sorry. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that one. And we see that that's where the actual individual entries are kept, right? Yeah.
Puppuccino.
Yeah, it's my favorite. Cool.
Nice.
Nice. That's actually more sophisticated than when I did it myself. I had all that stuff at the top level, so that's very cool.
Good job, Claudia.
Yeah, nice job.
Yay!
In the interest of time, let's move over to the second pair and have you all show us your stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, just to show right from the beginning, like this is I knew you guys had already done some work, and so I was like, well, let's just kind of skip some of the merge things, and I just pulled changes that you had already done.
Oh, nice.
So I kind of rearranged. I just rearranged it to make it so that I could do the home thing. So like here's your function that you had, and then I put a ternary down here, so it actually doesn't redirect. It just chooses which path it's supposed to go. So I don't know. I mean, using state would probably be a better idea, right?
Yeah, because this is essentially in the render method. So I don't know, Alejandro, do you have any opinions about this?
Yeah, I do. So, for example, when you reload the page, when you trigger, like if you click like get token and then you refresh the browser, it could, like in this scenario, because we have just a button, nothing will happen. Like it will work, right? But for example, if you have like a form or you have, I don't know, something else there, if you refresh the page, you will lose everything that you have. So the idea is not to rely so much on local storage. I mean, you should check local storage and then update the state. So the state in React is like the source of truth. So theoretically, you could basically like hard code your state and take the app to a place, like to the place you want to. For example, like I could have a state that says, is the user logged in? And I could hard code that to true, and I will replicate logged in user, right? But if you rely on local storage, you cannot like do that easily, if that makes sense. I left a comment in a PR. I can link the comment after this call, but I mean, this is an approach that works, but like in the real world with a more complex app, it will not work as you want to. But yeah, I mean, it's fine. I like it.
So I want, go ahead.
I was saying, I did notice in the example app, it's not in local storage, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, is it in something else, like another type of storage that's in the browser?
Oh, it's
like a newer type?
Yeah, it's something called local forage.
Forage, right.
Which is a package that uses local storage if the browser doesn't support IndexedDB. So local storage is it's a synchronous file operation. So it actually blocks the execution of wherever you call it. It's going to block the execution of what you're doing. Whereas IndexedDB is an asynchronous thing. So it's a little more complex to work with because you say, okay, give me this value. And in the meantime, I'm going to wait around for that value to come back. Oh, here it is. Now I'm going to do the thing, right? Whereas local storage, you can count on, like, as soon as you ask for it, it's there in your program. So to keep things simple, we're actually using local storage. Yeah, whereas I was using local forage.
Okay.
I have another thing. So another reason to use React state instead of local storage, like as the source of truth, is that when you update the state, the app will be rendered like by itself, right? But for example, here, you can go to the console and update the local storage token or delete it, and you will still see the interface that let you like create things, right? So if you change the local storage, it will not be reflected in the app. But if you change the state, it will, because it will trigger a re-render. So that's another reason for using state instead of like using state as the source of truth instead of local storage.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yep. We can pair up this week if you want. For me to show you like something about that. I have some free time. Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Cool. So you want to explain to us what the problem was you were trying to solve?
Oh yeah. Michelle?
Yeah. So ours was to put in to check to see if an existing token, if we had a token to put it in and see if it existed already, and if it did, to then show that list, and if it did not, then to show an error that it was not a valid token. So, oh, and then to save the token in the local storage. I apologize. So the way we went about that was, I've actually never done, not that this is a super important part of how we did it, but I've actually never done test-driven development. I've always like done tests differently, like probably the wrong way. So Mindy helped me with that, which was pretty interesting and fun, and also sometimes frustrating. But so we worked first on just submitting a token to the database, and just worked with a token 1234 because we had put that in there before. And then I guess the first thing we did was actually, okay. So we worked with that and getting the test to check if, look at how we did this first. I think we just checked local storage since we couldn't check the test against the database. Was that right, Mindy?
We were I think the first thing we did was check to get the token into local storage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you go to the join list JS? Yeah, so we did kind of work off of their page as well, like kind of their flow of everything. So we thought that it worked well by like the handle submit and the handle change and whatnot. But for the actual, can you show the check, the first, there you go, checked token exists. So we, I think I've had issues on my computer because I was having an issue with using the Firestore. But at first we were, once we were able to check the token if it existed, and then add it to local storage, and then do the set redirect, that part I feel like was easier. But we were having an issue with testing the alert. So I feel like we kind of got hung up on that for a minute, not getting the alert to work, but to getting the actual Cypress to test the alert is where we got hung up on. I honestly kind of want to say the most. What do you think, Mindy?
I'd say so for sure.
Yeah. So we were able to get the functionality of the actual app working. It's more easy than the test.
Yeah.
And then we did run into the problem of, which I think was probably kind of you guys saw in the threads on Slack, of we weren't able to get some of the tokens working that were already being submitted from their get token, and that's where Claudia went in and figured out what was going on there. So we did have that issue for a second, but Claudia was able to fix that one. Mindy, anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was definitely, I mean, I was sad that there wasn't a lot of, like, I can Google almost anything and find a solution, you know? And so it was a struggle for me to try and find this alert thing, and it just was, I was coming up empty. Like every time we tried a different thing, it just wasn't working. And then Stacy helped us out. So thanks, Stacy. Yeah, I mean, I think we got it. I mean, it was interesting. Yeah, trying out with our own token was easy enough. We just had our little test one, and that was
all of our marshmallows.
All of our marshmallows.
So many marshmallows.
I don't know how those all got added in there.
I think it's from a test, maybe. We might have
Okay.
Oh, tests probably add something.
I'm glad I understand now. When you said marshmallows earlier, I thought it was like an in term for coders that I was too stupid to know yet. And so I was like, oh no, what's marshmallows means?
No.
There's just a amount of marshmallows in here.
And then so it's not yet working with just the actual 3-word tokens yet, right?
It's not for ones that we create in here. So if we were to go into Firebase and find one of the ones that Claudia has created with the actual like regular font and stuck it in there, it'd work fine. It's just the ones that are I like how you called them virtual references or virtual lists or something like that. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, when I Googled it, it was basically, I figured it out from Stack Overflow answers, and people were calling it quote unquote virtual documents. So I don't even know that they do that they're actually virtual. But
so are you going to have to ask for, like, are there any documents that have the ID of this string? Is that how it's going to have to work?
Say that again.
Like when you're trying to find out whether the token exists, are you going to be asking Firebase for, is there a document that has an ID that matches like this 3-word thing? Is that how?
It's actually just the name. I guess it would that be the ID? Yeah,
then is the
on
name
line
of the
20
document?
token.
Oh yeah, maybe that.
Yeah, I thought it was just
token.
yeah.
So how come that's not working yet then? Because if that's what
it is. So if you want,
is.
do you have the local? Do you have it pulled up?
But
Do you want to? Yeah. Do you want to clear your storage and I'll give you a.
Oops, I think I accidentally deleted 2 things. Anyway.
So if you want to go back to putting in a token, join existing list. So anger, prune, slick.
I do love these. Is that how he responds? Like,
So this should work. Oh, it does. Oh, great. Okay, cool. Awesome.
Yep. I think we just still need to merge with their branch to get their updated code.
Cool. Do we have an idea who should merge first? Like, is there going to be an easier path if one team merges first?
I still gotta get the functionality of redirecting to the list view after after the user presses on the get token button. I still have to get that figured out.
Okay. All right. Well, that's cool. Good job, everybody. Looks like everything's working. We just got to get it kind of all integrated into the app. But that's awesome.
Good job.
Good job, everyone.
Yeah, well done.